destruction of critical road and rail overland transport, major reduction of waterborne transport, potable water and electric power infrastructure destruction, and a regional economic recession that will affect the national economy. Toxic pollution and the protective steps induced by fear of resultant disease will take their toll in slowing recovery operations. Add to this the oft-cited fear of another near-term, naturally occurring influenza pandemic, and the causes of concern from natural disasters come into sharp focus. The answer to these threats, as to the others discussed in this book, will become evident again and again. In this age of increased interdependency, occasioned by reduced redundancy and a mindset that has substituted dependence upon government for self-reliance, our constant turning to government to solve all our problems has resulted in ever-increasing vulnerabilities. We the people, our elected officials, our private industries, and each individual citizen must understand these vulnerabilities and challenges and use our individual and collective talents and resources to fight back. Preparedness and awareness are your best defenses, and this book will arm you with both pre-crisis planning solutions and aggressive crisis response options. Learning to be aware of your environment and taking basic precautions can mean the difference between a close call and significant personal harm. There was a time when such precautions and planning were considered unnecessary. This is no longer the case. Risks of everything from petty thievery to kidnappings for ransom are prevalent, and in this new era, Americans are likely to face homicide bombings, sabotage of our industries, and simultaneous attacks involving chemical, biological, or radiological materials. Each person must determine for himself the appropriate mix of individual fighting skills, kidnap response training, and escape and evasion planning. Given these threats, anything less than determined individual preparedness is woefully inadequate and could cost you your life or that of a loved one. G. Gordon Liddy, James G. Liddy, J. Michael Barrett, Dr. Joel Selenikio. September 2005, Washington, D.C. Introduction. On just another regular day in New York City, people woke up, kissed their husbands or wives goodbye, dropped their kids off at school, and went to their jobs. Then their lives were torn apart by an attack on their place of work, the World Trade Center. The date was February 26, 1993. 6 people were killed and over 1,000 injured. In 1993, al-Qaeda-trained terrorists also participated in attacks against U.S. soldiers in Mogadishu, Somalia. As chronicled in the movie Black Hawk Down, 18 soldiers were killed and 73 wounded, with the body of an American soldier dragged through the streets by Islamic terrorists and local warlords. 2 years later, in 1995, a massive plot to bomb 12 U.S.-bound airliners over the Pacific Ocean was disrupted when Khalid Sheikh Mohammed's apartment in Manila caught fire and investigators uncovered his plans. Then, in 1998, U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania were attacked, leaving 224 killed and 5,000 wounded. Then, on October of 2000, al-Qaeda struck the USS Cole, killing 17 sailors and wounding 30. Consider that from the time of the first World Trade Center attack in 1993 until September 11, 2001, it took terrorists 8 years to bring down the towers. It took 19 men from 4 countries aboard 4 hijacked airplanes to achieve that objective. It cost us over 3,000 lives, and the terrorists' success seems only to have emboldened them. Having survived more than 4 years since the last domestic attack, many Americans are beginning to wonder if future attacks will even affect them, and whether they are something for which they need to prepare. If, as virtually all the national security experts have postulated, the terrorists have not relinquished their desire for mass casualty attacks, then there will be more major attacks, and you most certainly will be affected. Your place of work may not be attacked. Your community may not be attacked. Your industry may not be attacked. But our country and our economy will be. And the ripple effect will be felt by each and every one of us. This is obvious when one considers the interrelatedness of the various systems of our modern world. The communications networks are the backbone of modern commerce. They rely heavily on the national power supply, which in turn relies on other critical nodes. The interstate commerce system relies on safe and open highways and on a dependable nationwide supply of fuel. Our economy and our food supply need controlled and safe borders and ports. Consider maritime shipping. Every year, millions upon millions of containers are moved globally, and only a small percentage of these containers are inspected at various countries' borders. The U.S. government has developed new initiatives to address this failure by inspecting cargo at the world's largest and therefore most modern ports. All well and good. But what about the smaller ports, those in underdeveloped nations, where smuggling is more of a way of life and where national controls over shipping are the least effective? The U.S. plan does not address the problems presented by those ports. Moreover, even today, no more than 6% of maritime cargo is ever inspected by U.S. Customs. Accordingly, when the very real threat of terrorism presents itself again on the shores of the United States, it will affect our otherwise relatively free and open society, our economy, and all of our lives in profound ways. Our enemies have observed the history of the past 15 years and realize that they cannot go head-to-head with the United States and expect to win. The United States possesses the most powerful military in the history of the world, period. So how will the weak challenge the strong? They will challenge us through adaptation, evolution, and attacks using weapons of mass destruction, WMD, or unconventional tools like airplanes and truck bombs. History has taught us this many times. In turn, we too must adapt, even evolve, and fight back in order to save our country and our way of life. Remember this: the terrorist's greatest asset is the ability to instill fear. If you follow the strategies in this book, you can deny them that, and in the process deny it to anyone else who intends to do you, your family, or your community harm. Think about it. What would happen post 9/11 if 5 people stood up in the aisle of an airplane and tried to take over the plane with box cutters? Half the passengers would stand up and beat them senseless, just as did the heroes of United Airlines Flight 93 that crashed in Pennsylvania because the passengers refused to go quietly into the night. That is how you fight terrorism. You get prepared. You pay attention to what happens around you, and you deny the terrorists the ability to control you through fear. This book gives you a game plan to prepare yourself and those close to you to fight back. If we are wise, let us prepare for the worst. George Washington. Part 1. Know your enemy. Chapter 1. Understanding the terrorist threat. It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change. Charles Darwin. 10 days ago, a seemingly typical Asian family of 4 departed their recently adopted home of Southampton, England, for a 6-day westbound transatlantic cruise aboard the famed Queen Mary II, docking in New York City. The 40-year-old Indonesian engineer, his 35-year-old wife, and their twin 16-year-old daughters began exhibiting severe flu-like symptoms halfway across the Atlantic. The daughters were pale with temperatures of 103 degrees Fahrenheit, but the shipboard medical facility's physical exam results were otherwise normal. The girls were presumed to have a viral infection and were instructed to drink fluids and take aspirin.